Please welcome back the director, Ana Urushadze, and we're also pleased to have the star of the film, Nata Murvanidze. Thank you both very much. It's late, so I won't ask too many questions, and I'll make sure that the audience is able to get their questions in, but I will start with a few. This is a film in which there's a considerable blurring between the author and the character. So it feels sort of natural to ask you how much of you is in this film in terms of, in whatever way, whether in terms of like your relationship with writing or with, the creative process.
Thank you for staying here. Thank you for the question. I always say that there's nothing, like nearly nothing here, but there are some little small details. Like for example, I used to write some things on my hand, but many do this, like 1 or 2 notes. But in this film's case, I thought that maybe I should exaggerate things, and what if she writes all over her hand, and it like suited the film somehow. And there was also one detail, maybe, but these details wasn't for just protagonists, like for other characters too. Some small things, like and I used to also see some things on the tiles, but in my case there were some pictures there, and here there are none, so that's why it's like
So this is your first feature, and I think I heard you say somewhere that you actually intended to make a short film. What was that short film, and how did it end up becoming a feature-length film?
So short film was literally the first 20-ish minutes of this film, but story was scenes were rearranged and some scenes were, but the story was more or less like this, and it ended when she's recalling her dream and telling her dream to her husband, and it ended there, it got rejected, and fortunately it did, because next day I started to turn it into long one, because next competition was for feature films, and I was like, this story somehow stayed with me, and when I got rejected for short one, I still wanted to direct it somehow, and I turned it to a long one, and it got funded. Yeah.
I'm curious about the new casting choices. Nata's, I think in Georgia you're a very established actress, and did you have her in mind when you were writing the film? And I'm curious about your reaction when you read the script.
Yeah. Initially, really initially, I had nothing in mind. I was just trying to get some story done. And when the character got created somehow, first one that I thought about was Nata. When I asked her, I was very lucky that she said yes. And
first of all, I want to thank you for coming, and I want to apologize for my bad English.
Mine is bad.
So when I read the script was very interesting and very unusual for Georgian scripts and script writers. I was surprised, and same time I was afraid of this, because I was not sure that I can do it. So then we start little by little work on it. We had meetings before shooting period. It takes about a month. It was not, we did not rehearse it at all. We just talk a lot, and little by little this gone somewhere, and we start to breathe together. And
I'm curious about those conversations. Were they a lot about the psychology of the character? Because in the film, a lot of it is withheld. I mean, we're not really privy to what exactly is going on in your head. So I'm wondering if, when the two of you were working on it, did you dig in?
Yeah, we just yes, we of course we talked about the character, but in a general way, not in like specific lines. And we didn't like when she says we didn't rehearse lines. Yeah. It happened in the set, on the set, and we just talked general themes like and about characters like state and psychological state or something.
I think one really, impressive thing about the film, which comes through in the direction and in your performance, is the tone of the film, which is so, it's such a balance. You know, there's a lot of like kind of unease and uncertainty and a little bit of dread and a lot of humor as well. So like, was this something that was already very present that you were working on as you were writing the script?
As I remember, only thing from the beginning, only thing I wanted it. I didn't want it to be too serious, or how to say it, because the theme is very serious indeed in itself, and it was like there was a possibility of over seriousness, or how to say it, I somehow tried to the script to have this ironical theme or something like that. That's why a title worked for me, because it was like a little bit ironical, I guess. We tried to balance this. It becomes serious, and then we tried to like, I don't know how it worked out, but yeah.
I'd like to hear you both talk about this, I think, really remarkable scene, which is the scene where we first hear Manana's writing, where she's reading it to her family. I'm curious about her writing itself. Like, what did you like? Model her writing on anything in particular?
No. Actually, the text itself, I didn't write it. My sister wrote it. Like, because I left it blank because, I'm not an author at all. I don't know how to write. I write a script, but it's like a different thing. I asked I asked others, I don't know. Then I asked my sister, and it was like, I don't know. She somehow caught the feel, exactly how she perceived the world. It's kind of worked for me.
You gave her some direction?
I didn't give her anything except script. And she thought about character, and she gave me this form and this style, how she writes. And it's like, I don't know, for me it worked really well, and I thought that it was like this character's vision, I guess. And
your sister is she a filmmaker too, or is she
she is actually a writer. She's like finishing her first book now. But she doesn't write in this way. But she for her this character she like chose this style. So.
And about how you shot that scene, and you know, for you also like delivering that very long monologue in that single take. Can you talk about just conceptualizing that scene?
And
pulling back with the camera.
The thing that I remember is that first thing I wanted the camera like to move back, and then she offered me this way of reading, like non-stop, like she's not taking pauses, and it was like it worked like a kind of strange, like it worked like a soundtrack. It was like melody itself, and it worked. I don't know. It's like it gave us like this feeling that we wanted this scene to have, and somehow
The locations in the film are pretty remarkable. Is this in Tbilisi?
Yes, it's in Tbilisi. Yeah.
And what did you have these locations in mind when you were writing? What were you looking for? What are these buildings? Are these like Soviet era?
Yes,
like
these older buildings that we. But the thing is that we didn't search for long for these buildings. We didn't have this luxury of time, I guess. But This was like second location we saw, and it was I don't know, it was like exactly the feeling that yeah, it's this one, and because it's like it was a character itself, this building, and it was a little bit exaggerated. I don't know how it works, this word, but but the story itself is a little bit somehow exaggerated or somehow, and it suited this building somehow. This stick did it, and we chose it. We didn't search for more. Search very longer. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just ask one more before we open it up. I think Manana actually asks this question in the film, but she's not answered. When she goes to the stationery shop and goes to the room, and she asks, why red? Yeah. Why red?
When I don't really go into explaining the symbolical things there because it always sounds really like bad in a bad way. But this red thing is like it's somehow theme of this script. It became like this because the mother has red hair and somehow the mother theme is red, I guess. And this red room when I think she writes this red about this red theme in her book, and when he read it. This book, he somehow thought that it was her first. I think this is the thing there, but when I explain it, it sounds very wrong. It's better to leave it like not specific, I guess. I don't know.
Fair enough. Okay, so we'll take questions for Ana or Nata, and we have a microphone in the audience. So over there, if you don't mind, Jason.
I remember the director of Memento saying that none of the critics who had seen the film had ever found the key to that film. And so the character is incessantly writing on his arms, writing on his belly, covering his entire body. There's a scene in the film where he's in bed with his wife, and I always thought that if I went back to a recording of the film and actually studied the words that he wrote on his body, that was where you would find the key to the film. So my question is there a real text that she's writing on her body? And did your sister write that? And is that really the key to the way in which the character plays out in the film?
The text that she's writing on her hand. No, when she found out that she should write some things on her head, nada. She was like she knew what she was like leave me like I know what to write on my hands, and I was like okay, write it. And she wrote something that she wrote the.
I wrote the monologue.
The monologue, yeah.
Because
the
I
dream.
learned this monologue on my hand.
You were studying in that dream.
that dream scene. So there was text, not to hear and not to hear my voice, just to know it. Yes, it was just practice. Just it numbers and this monologue. I learned the text. It was.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier about how tricky it is to balance the tone of the film because it is dark and it is funny, and I wonder also about balancing the characters in the film because for a film about a woman losing her mind and possibly destroying her family and destroying her life, everyone takes it pretty well, and I love that part of the film. And could you talk, maybe both of you, about how to find that balance within the characters of the film so everybody responds in a way that Yeah, I'll leave
Yeah,
it there.
yeah, I understand. You know, it happened like during writing the script. I don't know. In this script's case, I just followed. You know, I didn't know how it would develop. Like it's that kind of script when you follow the character somehow. So when this became like it was like when it felt that it became too harsh on her, then it went like I tried to ease it out, and then it happened like really naturally, because when it was too tense, then you try to like neutralize it or something, and yeah, it just like feeling, like following the feeling. Like, yeah. No, thank you.
Robot. I have a question on the scene with the blood in the bath, and then also when the shop owner went home, and there was a woman there in the room. And were those his dreams, or was that in reality? Was that in her dream, or it was?
Excuse me. Where? When?
The blood, when the shop owner was in blood.
Yes. It's one of those scenes when you don't know exactly if you do that. Yeah.
Any reason the actor playing the role of the father is not joining us today?
Oh God, yeah, unfortunately, I'd love him to be here, but yeah, he's not. What?
Give him your best.
Oh, he's just crazy, as in many, all the best ways possible. He's amazing. I love him. He's brilliant. I always want to, when it's about her, about him, and about other crew and cast, I always want to say the best of things, and I end up saying wrong things. So not that kind of things that I want to say. So it's very hard to talk about these people, because they were like totally dedicated to the work, and they trusted me somehow, and they didn't ever made me feel that I was it was my first feature or something, and it was amazing. Thank you.
A previous questioner used the word insanity. Is this a movie about insanity? Do you think of it like that?
Is this a movie about insanity?
Insanity.
Madness.
I don't know. I love this when there were not too many, but some people told me that for some it was about madness, and they perceived this character as mad. And for me it's like, it's like every impression that the people get is correct, I guess, for them. So, but for me, I don't know. For me, it's not about madness, actually. For me, it's about this woman who has this. Somehow, it happened that she didn't start it before, and I'm kind of fatalist, and I think that if she didn't start it before, it shouldn't have started before. And then she has this moment when she's like now or never, and she goes into now, and she starts writing, and she has her own style of writing. She has to be in this state, in this place, in this situation, and she tries to write. She tries to write, nothing else. And to write, she has to be totally dedicated to it. And I don't know. Maybe she has this kind of style because of many things. But yeah.
Nata, do you want to weigh in? Do you think it's a film about madness?
No.
Okay. Yes. Mike is on the way. Yeah, you.
Thanks again for the film. It was amazing. I just had a question about the gap between when it was a short film becoming a feature, and how long that process was, and if the writing the second half of the film took like a different direction or anything like that?
It happens that I wrote it during one summer, and then it was like, then I played it. You know, I'm very bad when the question is when, how long. I don't really. I have very bad memory. So as I remember, it was like one summer after I got rejected, and then it was finished. But then we started in winter, and still we started. I edit some things, and I worked till we started shooting, and yes. Yeah, it could have been done in a shorter time, but I didn't really. I don't know. When I write, I get entertained in the process. Like I watch too many YouTube videos, and then I write like 2 sentences and like hundreds of videos and like yeah. So.
I think we have time for a couple more, if there are any. Yeah, in the front here.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank you for this amazing tribute to Georgian women who are very courageous and very resourceful. Okay. So I wanted to ask you, who inspired you? You had any particular woman in mind who inspired you? And also, you cannot hear me? Can you hear me? Did you hear me?
Now we can.
You can? Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank you for this amazing tribute to very courageous and resourceful Georgian women. And I wanted to ask you, if you had who did you have in mind when you were writing about your protagonist? And if your film and your character resembles any current situation of Georgian women right now in Georgia, and you were planning to do it again, return to the theme and make more movies about women in Georgia?
I didn't have anyone in mind while writing it. I just concentrated on this woman who is, somehow out of this ordinary life of family, and she should write, and that's why she would be like. What about this theme? The second question was I don't really like generalizing these problems or something, but it is really it's of course is like common issue. This women who try to donate their time to things they love and their own things apart from family life, and it's it's natural, of course, because when you have family, you need to donate time to it, and then the rest, everyone has everyone is restricted in time, and when you have it's about choices, and this film is about in Georgia, of course, it's issue too, and many women are dealing with this, and they try to somehow I don't know. I don't really know this exact situation. I know it from stories I heard. I don't know this general exact. I don't know. I don't want to say this exactly, but of course it's more or less we have. There are women who are dealing with same issues, and what about future films? I don't really like thinking beforehand. While working or starting something, I don't like initially planning that it should be like this, we should work like this. I don't know, it somehow restricts you in some ways. I don't know, I don't know exactly. Because I'm not saying that sometimes it works pretty well, but in my case I try not to think about anything. And of course, it may happen that I will try and work on it, or I don't know. But now I'm writing something. It's about this kind of detective story, and let's see. I will try.
Okay, we can take a last question if there is one. There are no hands. Okay. Yes, right there. Yep.
I love the movie, and I was wondering if you could talk about the sound, sorry, sound design of the film, which I thought was really striking.
Yes, sound. So this sound, we have this very talented young composer who is Georgian and lives in Amsterdam and works there. And she recommended him because she knew him, and I was like, I tried to contact him, and I sent him script, and then I sent him this YouTube video of little brown bed sounds, and he like kind of, because it had this exactly feeling that worked for me somehow, and he caught this feeling, and he caught the mood that I somehow wanted, and then he worked on this sound, and then we agreed it to be high pitched, a little bit irritating. Because somehow it was like state of this character, it showed the state of this character, and then he worked on other themes, and he did all by himself. Well, I couldn't do it because I'm and I just told him what I didn't like, some parts that didn't work for me, and he cut it out, and that's all. That is just like all is left is like he. But what I cut it out, it doesn't mean it was bad. It was like, it didn't work for me, yeah.
Okay, can I just end by asking you about the title? At what point did you have this title in mind? And I'm wondering what it means to you, because in the end, the father is talking about how fear is sort of what's motivating the character, but then the idea of this character being scary as well. Like, can you say a little bit about how this title came to you? Yeah.
Well, this title came to me without thinking at all. It just came, and I was like, yeah, it got like exact feeling that I wanted it somehow. And then when I thought about it, it really like it connects with story a lot, and that thing that it's like, and in Georgian it's like sashishi is scary and shishi is fear. And it's like it's kind of I don't know, I liked it, and yeah.
All right, Ana and Nata, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.